Lions never lose sleep over the opinions of sheep, but sometimes even lions are hunted. What if I told you that being quiet makes you dangerous? That walking alone, refusing to follow the herd, paints a target on your back? Sigma males don't chase the spotlight. They don't hunger for applause. They don't kneel to titles, crowds, or commands. They move differently, quietly, intentionally. That difference doesn't always draw admiration. It draws heat, suspicion, even hostility. Because when you reject the rules, people start thinking you're rewriting them. This isn't just psychology, it's survival. Sigma males face fire because they threaten comfort zones. They shatter illusions. They're not better, just rarer, and rare always triggers reaction. In this video, we're not sugarcoating anything. We're tearing down the filters and speaking the truth. 12 raw, uncommon reasons why Sigma males are targeted. So to all my ascenders, the ones watching from the edge, walking in silence, thinking 10 moves ahead, this one's for you. Subscribe to Sigma Ascends, where quiet power finds its frequency. Let's get into it. Reason 1. The threat of unbuyable. In a world where influence is currency and approval is a drug, the Sigma male is a ghost in the system. He can't be bought, bribed, or emotionally blackmailed. And that's exactly why the system tries to reject him. Everyone has a price, right? That's the belief. But when someone shows up who doesn't play by that script, who doesn't salivate for status or crumble under pressure, it short-circuits the program. And people don't like systems they can't control. Society runs on compliance. Schools teach it. Jobs demand it. Relationships often expect it. But the Sigma male operates on internal command. His compass doesn't swing toward external validation. That makes him unpredictable, and unpredictable people get labeled as threats. Corporate bosses see him as a liability. Politicians see him as uncooperative. Social groups see him as distant or arrogant. Not because he's trying to fight, but because he doesn't need to join. It's not rebellion for the sake of rebellion. It's sovereignty, personal autonomy turned all the way up. When you can't be bought, you're a mirror, showing others how much they've already sold. That kind of reflection cuts deep, and sometimes people would rather break the mirror than face the truth. That's why the Sigma doesn't just stand out. He gets targeted, not because he's flashy, but because he can't be owned. Reason 2. Mirror of insecurity. The Sigma male doesn't have to say much to make an impact. Just his presence, calm, grounded, self-assured, is often enough to disrupt the emotional balance in the room. Why? Because he becomes a mirror. People unconsciously project their insecurities onto others, and when they're around someone who doesn't flinch, doesn't posture, doesn't need to perform, it triggers something inside. It exposes the gaps, the masks, the noise they rely on to feel okay. The Sigma male doesn't compete, he doesn't flex, he doesn't overcompensate. And that makes people wonder, why am I doing all this? What am I hiding from? That internal questioning can either wake people up or push them to lash out. This is why Sigma males often get passive-aggressive hate or subtle sabotage, especially from those who feel threatened but can't admit it. Jealous co-workers, insecure friends, overbearing relatives. They don't even always realize why they dislike the Sigma. They just know they feel off around him. It's not that the Sigma is trying to make others feel small. He's just not playing the same game. And when you sit at a different table, people assume you're judging theirs. Truth is, Sigma males make others feel exposed, not because they reveal anyone's flaws, but because they highlight what's missing. And not everyone is ready to face that. So instead of dealing with their own reflection, people target the mirror. Reason 3. Refusal to kneel at the social altar. There's an unspoken religion in modern society, and it's called social conformity. Play the game, fit in, clap at the right times, smile on cue. The Sigma male refuses to kneel. He doesn't disrespect others. He just doesn't worship the things they do. Titles, trends, fake status games, none of it holds value in his world. And that's a problem, because when someone refuses to play the game, it ruins the illusion for everyone else. It's like standing during a performance when everyone else is sitting. You didn't hurt anyone, but suddenly, you're the problem. Sigma males often walk away from groupthink. They don't follow for the sake of following. They weigh their moves with surgical clarity. That alone makes people uneasy. In corporate settings, they're seen as non-team players, even if they're the most competent in the room. In friendships, they're seen as distant. In families, they're the odd one out. Not because they're rude, but because they simply won't bend for comfort. People confuse independence with arrogance. But the truth is, the Sigma male isn't trying to dominate anyone. He just refuses to be dominated by group identity. This resistance to social obedience doesn't go unnoticed. In fact, it gets punished. Because when you reject the system labels you as the enemy, even if you're minding your business. To conform is safe. To question is rebellion. To walk alone is war. Reason 4. The quiet alpha. Confusion. People are used to loud leadership, chest thumping, dominance, constant noise, but the Sigma flips that script. He doesn't bark orders, he doesn't need the crown, he just walks in power, and that messes with people's programming. He's not trying to be an alpha, but often outshines them without trying. Why? Because real strength doesn't scream, it doesn't need a stage, it shows up in silence, in precision, calm, and confidence that isn't for sale. And here's the catch. This kind of strength is harder to detect, but way more disruptive. Loud alphas can be challenged. You know what they want. Status, submission, control. But Sigmas, they don't want your throne. They don't want to dominate you. They just want freedom. And freedom is threatening to those who crave obedience. The quiet alpha label confuses people. They think, if he's not chasing power, why does he still have it? That contradiction breaks their mental model. They assume there must be manipulation, arrogance, hidden motives. In reality, the Sigma simply commands respect through how he moves. He doesn't seek followers, but people often follow anyway. And those who crave control hate that. You don't need to fight to make enemies. Sometimes just standing still while others are chasing illusions makes you a target. Reason 5. Emotional firewall. Most people are open networks, easy to hack with praise, shame, flattery, or guilt. But Sigma males are firewalled. They control their emotional access, not cold, just selective. They don't explode, overreact, or bleed feelings everywhere. And that calm, that quiet regulation, it drives manipulators crazy. Because manipulators rely on emotional buttons. They test boundaries, push your triggers. They want to know what breaks you, so they can own you. But the Sigma has no exposed buttons. He doesn't give easy tells, doesn't seek approval, doesn't respond on demand. That unnerves people used to running emotional scripts. In relationships, this means the Sigma gets labeled as unavailable or emotionally distant. In work environments, he's seen as too independent or aloof. But really, he just has emotional discipline. He feels, but he's not ruled by those feelings. He connects, but not with everyone. And most importantly, he sees manipulation coming and doesn't play into it. That emotional firewall protects the Sigma, but it also isolates him. People project coldness onto what they can't control. You ever noticed how calm people often get accused of being intimidating? That's not by accident. It's the absence of vulnerability that scares those who feed on chaos. Sigma males aren't emotionally dead, they're emotionally armed. And when you're immune to games, the players see you as a problem. Reason 6. No need to be liked. Most people walk through life like it's an approval contest. Fit in, be nice, keep the peace. But Sigma males have no addiction to being liked. They don't need to be the center of attention. They don't chase applause. They speak when it matters, stay silent when it's noise, and walk away without a dramatic exit. This alone is threatening to people who crave external validation. Here's the uncomfortable truth. People expect others to play by the social contract, to people please, to apologize for being different, to shrink when they're too much. The Sigma doesn't do that. He's not rude. He's real. He tells the truth, even if it costs him followers, friends, or approval. He walks alone if the crowd's going in the wrong direction. And because he doesn't seek validation, he exposes how desperately others do. That's what burns people. They feel invisible around him, not because he ignores them, but because he doesn't need their energy. In school, that made him weird. In work, not a team player. In dating, unavailable or mysterious. But all it really means is this. The Sigma is authentic to a level most people aren't ready for. And when you're not performing for applause, some people feel erased. They can't understand why you don't care what they think, and instead of growing from that, they aim to tear you down. Being free from the need to be liked? It's power, but power always draws fire. Reason 7. Breaking group identity codes. Every system, family, workplace, religion, culture, runs on invisible contracts, unspoken rules, shared masks, group identity. Play your part. Don't ask questions. Stay inside the lines. The Sigma male. He reads the rules and then walks off the board. He doesn't rebel for attention. He just doesn't belong by design. He can respect tradition without being trapped by it. He can collaborate without being absorbed, and he can love people without losing himself in the collective. That alone causes friction. Group identity requires participation. You're expected to belong to a team, a label, a tribe. The Sigma doesn't subscribe. He's unbranded. He's not here for the herd. He asks questions like, why do we do this? Who benefits from this rule? What happens if I don't comply? And that level of self-direction makes groupthink systems uncomfortable. Not because he's toxic, but because he refuses to merge. He's not easily categorized, not alpha, not beta, not follower, not leader in the conventional sense. He's just uncontained. And when people can't put a label on you, they assume you're dangerous. In cult-like environments, whether it's toxic work culture, ideological movements, or even cliques, the Sigma is often the first target. Why? Because he sees the game, and he won't play it. He's not isolated because he's broken. He's isolated because he sees through the veil. And systems can't tolerate someone who won't carry the flag. When you don't submit, you become the problem, even if you're silent, even if you're right. Reason 8. Power without permission. Some people ask to lead, some demand it. Sigma males just become it. They don't wait for permission to move. They don't wait for validation to act. They lead themselves. And that self-generated power is disruptive. Why? Because most people are conditioned to follow signals, wait for instructions, ask for approval. That's how control systems stay stable, through compliance. But the Sigma doesn't operate on external cues. He studies, he calculates, he moves, quietly, precisely, independently, and that's intimidating, especially to fragile authority. People in charge want followers, not thinkers. When someone shows up who doesn't need their crown, who won't kneel or challenge, but just won't comply, they panic. It's not just that the Sigma refuses to be ruled, it's that he makes leadership look easy, without the noise, ego, or control. He's a walking contradiction, dominant without domination, strong without shouting. This creates confusion. And in insecure systems, confusion is perceived as threat. He breaks the chain of command not by attacking it, but by walking around it. That kind of autonomy isn't just rare, it's unwanted, because it inspires others to do the same. And nothing scares a control structure more than someone who proves you don't need it. So the Sigma gets targeted by gatekeepers, bosses, rigid thinkers, people whose identity depends on being needed. Because once one man walks free without permission, others start questioning their chains too. Reason 9. Minimalism in a maximalist world. Today's world is built on excess. More noise, more posts, more likes, more stuff. If you're not broadcasting, you're invisible. If you're not showing off, you must be losing. But Sigma males don't play that game. They strip it down, cut the fluff. They focus on what matters: clarity, function, depth. That minimalist mindset is powerful and deeply misunderstood. While the world screams for attention, the Sigma goes silent. While others chase more, he refines less. He doesn't dress to impress, he dresses to move. He doesn't collect friends, he filters them. He doesn't chase pleasure, he pursues meaning. That makes people uncomfortable, because excess is the mask most people wear. It hides insecurity, fear, emptiness. And when someone walks through life without needing the clutter, it exposes what others are using to feel enough. The Sigma doesn't reject material things entirely, but he controls them. He owns them. They don't own him. His room might be simple, his phone quiet, his routine surgical, but his mind razor-sharp, focused, liberated from distractions. In a culture where busy equals important, his stillness is suspicious. In a world addicted to dopamine, his discipline is offensive. Minimalism, to the Sigma, isn't just aesthetic, it's strategy. It keeps him agile, harder to manipulate, immune to noise. But to those clinging to excess as identity, the Sigma feels like judgment walking. And when you strip life down to essentials, you stop being relatable and start becoming a threat. Reason 10. Strategic ghosting. Most people ghost out of fear, drama, or emotional immaturity. Sigma males ghost with precision, not out of weakness, but strategy. See, the Sigma knows when a room no longer deserves his energy. He doesn't announce his exit. He doesn't make a scene. He just quietly removes himself, mentally, emotionally, then physically. This ability to disappear isn't just social. It's psychological warfare to those addicted to control. People expect closure. They want explanations. They feel entitled to your presence, especially if they think they once had access. But the Sigma owes nothing, not because he lacks empathy, but because he protects his mental bandwidth like it's sacred. He knows when conversations are circular, when loyalty is one-sided, when growth has flatlined. And when he sees that, he ghosts. Not to hurt, not to punish, but to preserve his trajectory. This disturbs people used to emotional games. They want drama, they want a fight, but when the Sigma leaves in silence, he denies them the performance they crave. In toxic environments, this makes him a villain. Why'd he just cut off? Who does he think he is? He thinks he's better than us. No, he just values peace over validation. Strategic ghosting is clarity in motion. It's the Sigma saying, this chapter is done. I don't need applause to close the book. And people hate that level of detachment, because when you leave without needing to be chased, you expose who's still trapped in the cycle. Reason 11. Weaponized observation. The Sigma male doesn't enter the room to be seen. He enters to see. While others talk, perform, or posture, he observes. He watches patterns, reads subtext, notices power dynamics most people miss. And that level of perception, it's dangerous, because observation is power. And silent people who see everything make loud people feel naked. He doesn't just hear what you say, he hears what you didn't say. He watches how you treat others, how you handle pressure, how you fake confidence. He sees through masks, and that makes people incredibly uncomfortable. To most, silence means weakness or indifference. But the Sigma's silence is tactical. He's collecting data, calculating truth, storing leverage. This unnerves manipulators, liars, and performative types. Because when you can't read someone, but know they're reading you, it flips the script. It's not surveillance. It's awareness. And awareness, when unspoken, becomes a weapon. That's why Sigma males are often underestimated until they strike. When they speak, it lands. When they act, it's precise. Because they've already mapped the terrain while everyone else was showing off. People resent being seen too clearly. And when a Sigma understands you better than you understand yourself, you either feel exposed or elevated. That's why some admire him, but many target him. Not because he attacks, but because he sees. Reason 12. Unapologetic purpose. Most people drift. They follow trends. Chase whatever feels good. Their identity is liquid, changing with the crowd, the algorithm, or the season. But the Sigma male, he moves on purpose. And he doesn't apologize for it. He's not here to impress you. He's here to build a life, a mission, a legacy. And that kind of clarity is rare and intimidating. Because purpose isn't loud. It doesn't beg for approval. It just moves. And people who lack it often resent those who don't. The Sigma doesn't entertain distractions. He's not posting every meal, reacting to every trend, or chasing every dopamine hit. He's building something, quietly, relentlessly. That makes him unrelatable to most. And when people can't relate to you, they either admire or attack. He's not lost in identity crises or spiritual fads. He knows who he is and what he isn't. And he won't dilute that to make others comfortable. Even in love, friendship, or business, he filters based on alignment, not popularity. People call him intense, but intensity is just focus without apology. And when you move with purpose in a world addicted to distraction, you're labeled as rigid, cold, or too serious. But the Sigma doesn't need labels. He's not playing for the crowd. He's forging a path. That's why he's targeted. Because he reminds the drifting that they've stopped steering. So now you know. Sigma males don't get hunted because they're loud. They get hunted because they're clear. Because silence is misread as arrogance. Because detachment is mistaken for coldness. Because self-respect is treated like rebellion. Ascenders, hear this. You will be misunderstood. You will be called names. You will be targeted for seeing too much and needing too little. But stay the course. They fear what they can't define. They attack what they can't own. They resist what doesn't bend. But power doesn't come from being accepted. It comes from being aligned. If you're walking alone, it means your path is too real for the crowd. So hit subscribe, not to join the noise, but to stay connected to a tribe that moves with silence and strikes with vision. Until next time, walk your own way, burn your own map, and ascend without permission.